Hi friends, Miss Kristi here, and I am so excited to be together again cooking in the kitchen. Today we are learning how to make a brownie in a mug. This perfect size treat for ourselves uses 7 ingredients. We'll mix everything in one mug and it only cooks in our microwave for 1.5 minutes. We're gonna have fun making this together today, and I'm so glad you're here.
All is calm and all is bright tonight.
Now, the first step to cooking and working in the kitchen is to wash our hands. While I wash my hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds, let's go over the ingredients and supplies that you'll need to gather to cook along today. The ingredients you'll need are 3 tablespoons of flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 3 tablespoons of milk, 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips, 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil or vegetable oil, and 1/4 teaspoon vanilla extract. The supplies you'll need are a liquid measuring cup or coffee mug, 1 tablespoon, 1/2 tablespoon, 1/4 teaspoon, a spoon, and a fork. Okay, great. Your hands are clean and my hands are clean. We've gathered our ingredients and supplies, so let's get started making our brownie in a mug. I love this recipe because when you have a craving for a brownie, you can just quick make this, pop it in the microwave, and then you have a brownie for yourself. Now, how do we cook this and where do we cook it? You can either use a coffee mug as long as it is big enough to hold your ingredients. I'm actually gonna do everything right into a liquid measuring cup today for a couple of reasons. I know this can go in the microwave and it's clear. With it being clear, it just helps to see that your ingredients are mixed together. So feel free to, anytime you wanna make this recipe, to use a liquid measuring cup, or if you have a big enough coffee mug that can go in the microwave, you can definitely do it in there too. So grab whatever liquid measuring cup or coffee mug that you're going to use and place that right in front of you. And now we get to start adding our ingredients. I'm also going to grab my fork because we are going to mix our dry ingredients with a fork to get them combined, so you can put this right next to you. All right, let's get started. Grab your flour and your 1 tablespoon. So this is the biggest one like this today. It says 1 TBSP, and we need to put 3 tablespoons of flour right into our mug or our liquid measuring cup. My flour. And the easiest way I found, even if you're taking this right out of a bag, you can take your tablespoon and scoop it up and then press it against the side. And that gives you a nice even level of flour. And we need 3 of those. Pop it right in. So that's 1. Same thing, I'm gonna scoop and then push it against the side. That's 2. And lastly, push it against the side. That's 3. All right, we're gonna be using our tablespoon quite a bit for the next few ingredients, so I'm gonna keep that right next to me, but you can put your flour away because we will no longer use that. And now we need our sugar. We need 3 tablespoons of sugar. So I'm using granulated sugar. However, I've used this in this recipe, even like a coconut sugar or a cane sugar. Today I have granulated sugar, so whatever sugar that you prefer, we need 3 tablespoons. That is a lot of sugar, so I don't recommend having this recipe all the time. This is more of like a sweet treat for a special occasion because there is quite a bit of sugar in there. But we need it to taste sweet because we're using cocoa powder and that's not normally sweet, so the sugar helps to sweeten it up a bit. So we need 3 tablespoons. So the same thing, I'm just gonna scoop, try to level it off as best as I can, and in it goes. So that's 1, 2, and 3. But you do want it nice and level. You don't want like a huge mound of sugar because then you're gonna get more sugar than we actually need. So we need 3 level scoops, and this is number 3. Again, keep your tablespoon next to you. We're gonna use that in a minute. You can put your sugar aside. We are done with that. And now our last dry ingredient before we mix is going to be our cocoa powder. So we need 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So this is the 1/2 tablespoon. It's the smaller one. This is the tablespoons. So this one is going to say 1 TBSP, and this is going to say 1/2 TBSP. We need one of each for our cocoa powder. So I'm going to scoop up 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, put it right in. Again, keep your tablespoon near you, and then we are going to need 1/2 tablespoon, so 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder into our measuring cup. You'll also need your 1/2 tablespoon again, so don't put that away. You can keep that next to you. You can put your cocoa powder to the side if you have any left over. And now grab your fork, and we're just gonna mix these dry ingredients together. A fork usually helps break them up a little bit better with a spoon, which is why I'm using a fork. This is the only thing we'll use our fork for today, unless you wanna eat your brownie at the end. So now I'm just going to stir this together. And you will know when it's pretty stirred and ready to go when you no longer see a bunch of white flour. And that's why I like to use my liquid measuring cup, because you can see all around. Because right now this to me looks pretty mixed up, but if I look at the bottom, there's still a ton of white flour at the bottom. So I need to keep mixing. And you want to go slow, because with dry ingredients, if you stir really fast, they're going to go everywhere, and a lot of your ingredients are going to leave your bowl or your cup, and we need them to stay in. So I can see I'm getting closer. This is one of the longer parts of the recipe here, is just making sure that we don't have any big chunks of flour at the bottom. Just a little bit more. But again, that's why I like using a liquid measuring cup, or even a clear mug if you had a clear mug, because it just makes your life a little bit easier to know when we're ready to move on. All right, I'm gonna say that that's good. It really resembles like a hot cocoa mix if you've ever poured out a hot cocoa mix. So once yours looks like this, we can now add our chocolate chips. Grab your chocolate chips, and then you also want to grab your tablespoon. So this is the one that we've used a couple times for the flour and the sugar. We are using 2 tablespoons of chocolate chips. So I'm going to do the first one. So scoop out a tablespoon, put it right in there. And then for my second tablespoon, I've scooped it out, and I'm just going to grab a little pinch, and I'm going to put that to the side, because I want to put a couple chocolate chips on the end before we put it in the microwave. That just helps the top be a little bit more chocolatey and melted. So I'm just taking a couple out, not using more than 2 tablespoons, and just setting them to the side, because we'll put those on top in just a minute. But whatever's left in there, you can go ahead and dump into your mug or your liquid measuring cup. You can set your chocolate chips aside. And now I'm going to grab my spoon that we had in our supply list, and I'm just going to mix this together. I want those chocolate chips to be throughout my batter. So the best you can, just gently. All we're doing is mixing our chocolate chips into our dry ingredients. All right, you can keep your spoon next to you. We'll use that again. Now we need to add our wet ingredients. So go ahead and grab your milk, and like I said, we'll use this one quite a bit today, your tablespoon. We need 3 tablespoons of milk into our mug or liquid measuring cup. So just go carefully when you're measuring into tablespoons. You just have to go a little bit slow, be patient. If you don't feel comfortable measuring right over what you're pouring it into, you could always measure it into a different cup and then pour it in. So here's 1 tablespoon. Here's 2 tablespoons, and our last one, we need 3 tablespoons of milk. And you can use any milk that you usually have in your kitchen, whether it's almond milk, soy milk, oat milk, this kind of milk, dairy milk, your choice, your preference. All right, our milk is in here, and now we need to add our oil. So I'm either gonna have you add olive oil or vegetable oil. I usually cook with olive oil in my house, and you can't tell the difference in flavor, so I'm actually gonna use olive oil. But if you wanna use vegetable oil, it has a little bit lighter flavor. I don't think you can tell the difference. You can use either one of those. So grab your cooking oil, and we are going to add 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil or vegetable oil to our brownie mixture. So I'm grabbing you're gonna need your 1 tablespoon again. It's the one we've been using quite a bit. It says 1 TBSP, the big one, 1 tablespoon. And then you need your 1/2 tablespoon. It says 1/2 TBSP. We need 1.5 tablespoons of cooking oil. Okay, right in there. And now you can actually set both of these to the side. We are done using the tablespoon and the half a tablespoon. Set your cooking oil to the side. And now we need our vanilla extract. So you're gonna grab your 1/4 teaspoon. It is the smallest one today. It says 1/4 TSP, and your vanilla extract. This is the last of the ingredients before we give this a final stir. And when you pour into 1/4 teaspoon, it's very small. So if you don't feel that you can pour it without spilling it over, I would suggest pouring it into another cup and then pouring it in here. If you feel patient and comfortable, go slow, and we want 1/4 teaspoon, and sometimes I even add a little bit more. So if that happens to you, it happens to me. 1/4 teaspoon into our mixture. You can set your vanilla extract to the side. We're done with that. And you can put your 1/4 teaspoon to the side. We are done with that. Now we just need to stir this and mix our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients. So grab your spoon and let's start stirring this. And you will see that it will slowly start to become what looks like brownie batter, because it should, because it is a brownie in a mug. So my goal here is just to mix it all together where I don't see any dry ingredients. And all the flour is covered with my milk. So again, I can kind of pick it up and I can look at the bottom and see, do I see dry ingredients down there? This is our last step. So it's just important that we get it all mixed together. I also like to scrape down the sides of my mug or my cup. I want all of those ingredients to cook together in one blob and not have it cooking on the side and burning. All right. This looks pretty mixed, so it does look like a brownie batter, or maybe to you it looks like chocolate pudding. You can set your spoon aside. We are done with that. And if you remember, we kept a couple chocolate chips off to the side, and I'm just going to pop them on top. Doesn't matter where or how, I just like how it melts a little bit more at the top and there's a bit more chocolate up there. But from here, we are ready to put this in the microwave, and it only needs to cook for 1.5 minutes. So I'm going to put this in the microwave, and then we'll talk about getting it out and letting it cool for a couple minutes. This is gonna go in for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then we'll talk about it. All right, friends, this is exciting. That only cooked in our microwave for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it's already ready to come out and cool. So because we used a mug, it's really important that we grab the handle when we take it out of the microwave, because that mug is gonna be hot, which is also why I like to use a liquid measuring cup, because I know the handle stays cool to touch. So I'm gonna take that out carefully, put it on a protected surface, whether that's my cutting board I can set mine on, or you have a pot holder. It now just needs to cool for 5 minutes. It also gives it a chance to kind of finish its baking a little bit. Everything gets a little bit harder in there, so it's not falling apart. So take it out of your microwave, set it on a protected surface, and we're gonna let it cool for 5 minutes. All right, friends, this is exciting. We are now ready to eat our brownie in a mug. It's been 5 minutes. The goal of that is to make sure that your coffee mug is cool to touch. I'm still grabbing my handle, but you wanna make sure that the bottom's cool to touch. That way you know when you're ready to eat it and you're not gonna take a bite and burn your mouth. But here we go. So this is definitely looking like a brownie, which is exciting. We only used those 7 ingredients that we mixed right into our mug, cooked it for 1.5 minutes, and now we have this sweet treat for ourselves. It's the perfect size anytime you have a craving for a brownie. So I do hope you try and make this or try and make it again, and when you do, let me know how it goes. I love getting to hear from you. You can leave me a comment, let me know if you have any questions. You can even send me a picture of how your brownie in a mug turned out. I'd love to get to see your creation, and maybe we can share it next week. Now, speaking of next week, on next week's episode, which is episode 57, we are learning how to make a potato chip dip. This potato chip dip uses just 5 ingredients. It's no bake, and we mix everything in one bowl in just a few minutes. In order to cook along and make our potato chip dip, these are the ingredients that you'll need to have in your kitchen for next week. 4 ounces of cream cheese, that's room temperature. 2 tablespoons of milk, half a tablespoon of Italian seasonings, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and of course, your favorite chips to dip. Well, friends, our time together today is almost over. I do hope you've enjoyed learning how to make our brownie in a mug. I know I had fun, and I already can't wait to cook together again next time. But before you say goodbye to this episode, make sure to click subscribe if you haven't already. You just have to click the little picture of me in the corner. That way you don't miss next week's episode. It'll be out on Friday, and I'll see you then. Bye, friends. It's time to eat.